we require registration that says, I want to use it. Why do you want to use it? It goes through that leader's approval and then final approval to decide whether or not this is going to be allowed.
That's kind of what we were thinking, just including in our electronic communication policy, just a small snippet that includes an example of ChatGPT and generative AI. We did also send out a company-wide email that kind of just sets a standard with specific examples regarding like legal contracts or marketing emails, and that there had to be a pre-approved process involving IT and legal before anybody could use ChatGPT before those policies came out. So that's just kind of what we're doing right now.
We, as I said, when we got into this, we set up an entire SharePoint site that talks about the do's, the don'ts. We created separate policies for it on top of we did like everybody else that said the general policies about what you shouldn't share, what you should share. But we also talked more about do's and don'ts when it comes to using the generative AI, whatever it is, whether it's Dolly, like I said, Jasper, or ChatGPT, doesn't make any difference. And then we require registration that says, I want to use it. Why do you want to use it? It goes through that leader's approval and then final approval to decide whether or not this is going to be allowed. Because I'm sure, like everybody else, when it first hit the news waves, several months ago, it's like people were flooded connecting to it, right? The developers were all hitting it. And the challenges that you're seeing, I'm surprised people haven't brought up the cybersecurity threat that's about all the chat GPTs and AIs. That's where the biggest ones are. You talk about hallucinations, you've got bad guys out there intentionally putting in code and bad scripts for things that developers could pull up, and chat GPT would say, oh, here's what a lot of people are using. Let me just embed this, code. And if you don't really know what you're doing, you just wrote code right into your backdoor right into your application. So I think the other side of this is not only about what all the companies are doing for it, but what are companies doing about it from a cybersecurity point of view. How are you impacting your organization to make sure you're not letting ChatGPT get inside the doors, right? And I think that's why the restrictions are starting to pop up everywhere. It's not so much about the privacy of the data being shared, but it's also about what you could inadvertently allow in.